I was in Falera and did an event last night, and
Mhm.
that was the biggest cheer that we got all night, was when we said that we would basically disconnect a mile of rail on the very east side of Alberta so that nothing from BC could go through.
Hi, it's John, and welcome to the channel. Great to have you along today. Today, we've got a special guest here on the channel. We'll be talking with Mitch Sylvestre, the CEO of the Alberta Prosperity Project. And if you're somebody who's been following the independence movement here in Alberta, you'll know that Mitch, along with Jeff Rath and Dr. Dennis Modry, have been in Washington recently to talk to the Trump administration. So we certainly want to touch on that with Mitch. But also, I want to talk to Mitch a little bit about the backlash against Premier Danielle Smith's plan to put a pipeline to the West Coast, the backlash coming from David Eby, the Premier of British Columbia, and recent comments by Yves-François Blanchet, the Premier of Quebec. Also, there's a big event coming up. If you want Alberta independence, we're going to tell you about an event that's coming up that you need to be at. So without any further delay, I'd like to welcome Mitch Sylvestre, the CEO of the Alberta Prosperity Project.
Hey, John, thank you so much. It's great to be here.
Well, it's good to have you back. It's been a while. I think it's been 3 or 4 months since I've had you on here. Lots has happened over the summertime as we head into winter, which is coming quicker than I'd like to have happen. I know that I want to talk to you about a bunch of things here, Mitch, as I said off the top, but I want to chat with you a little bit about your meeting in Washington, which is making waves. National Post running a story the other day, a picture there of Jeff Rath with his big hat on. Jeff saying we're literally 1 degree of separation from the Oval Office. I know it's kind of confidential who you were talking to, but how did you come back from that meeting with Jeff and Dr. Dennis Modry?
Well, so first of all, that was my first meeting. They had gone up at the original meeting. The first meeting was an hour. The second meeting was 2 hours.
Wow.
How did I come away from that? We have to do all the work that we need to do before we can initiate that process. But you know what? It was very positive as far as I was personally concerned. They're very interested in an independent Alberta. Based on what's going on politically in Canada. And we supply, a lot of their oil. We produce 87% of Canada's oil here in Alberta.
Mm-hmm.
So I think we have lots of things in common. I think it could be a wonderful partnership. I'm just going to clear that up for everybody in the room, though. The 51st state is not never come up. It came up for 10 seconds, and both sides understand that that's an impossibility.
Right. Yeah.
So other than that, the what I came away from the meeting was this: the particular high level American staffer, or whatever this gentleman is, I know what he is, but he said, "You just don't expect to walk away with Alberta, do you?"
Mm-hmm.
And that's something that has always been front and center in my mind. But what I'm seeing is that we're not having to walk away from Alberta; they're just shoving us out. Is exactly the way I see it. I'm actually concerned that I'm missing something, because it just doesn't seem like there's any appetite at all to do anything that will benefit Alberta in any way.
I want to get back to that.
Okay.
But recognition by another country when it comes to independence for Alberta, that's very important. And of course, if it's the United States, it's the most important thing because they're our neighbor.
Right. And that's the purpose of the visit.
Yeah.
The purpose of the visit was to say, would you recognize us should we become a free and independent nation? And I believe they would, based on the conversation that we had.
Now, I heard a name of a person. I'm not going to mention it here because I know confidentiality is important. But if it's the person I heard it was, it's a pretty high-level Trump official that you spoke with the other day.
Yeah, basically second from the top.
Yeah. Okay. So I think it's who I was thinking of. So let me ask you about what's been going on. You were talking about the country isn't really wanting to do anything when it comes to Alberta. Over the last 24 to 48 hours, I've done a couple of videos on this already. Danielle Smith is basically wanting to go it alone when it comes to an oil and, a pipeline out to the West Coast, saying that Alberta will be the proponent. Of course, David Eby, the Premier of British Columbia, said not too many months ago that if there was somebody, he'd be willing to talk about it. He's basically slammed the door on Alberta now with his comments the other day. What are your thoughts about what's going on right now?
Well, you may not realize, but we met with the Premier Saturday. just before we went to Washington.
Yeah.
And we had a very long conversation about this, and we're actually explaining or trying to understand how we're continuing down this path when she clearly said in Bonnyville at our event hosting Premier's dinner there that she's going to give them 6 months to do something. And my comment to the Premier is they're sticking a stick in your eye every week. Like it's not just saying no about one thing. It's like Parliament reconvened and absolutely said carbon cap is going to stay exactly where it is. And then we're hearing a different message from the Premier saying we're going to become an Alberta superpower. We're going to double oil production. And I just asked her how is that possible that you think you could double oil production if the carbon cap is still in place? And BC has absolutely no appetite to put a pipeline across through BC. And the tanker ban is still on. So I'm just trying to understand how any of that is going to be possible. As much as you wish it, if they don't want to play ball with us, I mean, we're going to have to play hardball back with BC at some point. And I mean, we have options and absolutely have to be able to exercise them.
Well, it's interesting you say that because I spoke with you yesterday to set up this interview. I've talked to my wife. I saw Corey Morgan tweeted out a couple of days ago regarding David Eby's comments. Corey Morgan saying, why don't we just see what happens when we shut down the railroads from British Columbia and how that would affect their economy. Is basically what you told me yesterday. Same thing. It's what my wife said. I mentioned the other day, just shut down all the roads as well. And we need to play hardball. Instead of playing nice, we need to play hardball a little bit, don't you think? Or would that be just getting to a tit for tat with the province to our west?
Well, obviously playing nice is not working.
Yeah.
So I was in Falera and did an event last night, and that was the biggest cheer that we got all night was when we said that we would basically disconnect a mile of rail on the very east side of Alberta so that nothing from BC could go through based on the attitude that they have. I mean, what's the difference? Like it's not as if they're not using carbon to ship all this stuff across Alberta. I mean, if that's actually the issue, I mean those trains are pulling sea cans that are miles and miles of cars long. Like I mean, I go fishing in Prince Rupert. I see them unload. I follow those trains all the way to Alberta and all the way through for the most part on my way home. So what I see is they're shipping 90% of the stuff. 90% of their cargo goes east of Alberta. So we're in a very strong negotiating position with British Columbia, and if they want to be unreasonable, I don't see why we can't be unreasonable either. I mean, I don't want to do Danielle's work for her, but I mean, it seems to me that would be something that is a real threat.
Well, what I'm really noticing, Mitch, is that I just don't seem to have much in common with Canada anymore. And I was saying in a video this morning, what does Danielle Smith have in common with David Eby? What does Danielle Smith have in common with Mark Carney? I don't know whether you heard Yves-François Blanchette's comments regarding Alberta going ahead with this pipeline or trying to. He basically said he wants to report Alberta as a climate criminal and gave us advice on how we can stop using our oil and gas industry and get off our oil and gas. I mean, I just don't have anything in common with these people anymore. And why? I mean, I'm preaching to the choir, Mitch, but why the hell do we think we're going to get anything out of these people? We never are. It's never going to happen.
And we're saying that. We're saying that every night. We're saying that it's impossible to deal with these people. They are not us. And that's what they say. We don't have a distinct society. We absolutely are. We're absolutely clear of anything. We don't think like them at all. We're like two different planets. And it's very, very clear to all of us. Like, I mean, we're seeing it right now. We're not going to subscribe to the fact that there is a climate emergency here in Alberta based on the fact that we have a boreal forest out there with 600 billion trees in it, and that we have 4 million people in an area the size of a massive area, and the entire north of the province is absolutely void of people. And we're going to pretend that we're the cleanest oil patch in the world. The world needs oil. They're just trying to shut our oil in. Doesn't make any sense to us or anybody else. And what they're doing is they're consciously shutting down our economy so that they can take the next steps in their absolutely legitimate World Economic Forum program. Like we were never able to breathe World Economic Forum 3-4 months ago. But it's very clear. Everybody understands what's going on. Everybody understands the federal government is lying to us. They know we know they're lying. We know they know they're lying, but they're continuing to lie. And so absolutely, people of Alberta have to just understand this. Nobody's going to save us but us. So we just absolutely have to stand up to these people. And on that note, I mean, we've got a clear path. We've got a clear path out of this. And I'm not saying that it's going to be easily done. It would be easily done if everybody in Alberta decided that was the way we wanted to go.
Mhm. Mhm.
But until people, and I also clearly believe that once people are informed, they will see that that's the only way to go. That's the absolute clear path, and we must leave.
Do you see these things that are happening, and it's happening faster and faster? There's the saying, it's
Yeah.
slowly and then all at once. Do you see these things as a bonus to the independence movement? When you hear David Eby say this, slamming the door in Alberta, when you hear Blanchette talk about this, when we haven't got any pipelines on the first things that Mark Carney is allowing us to have here in Canada, there's probably going to be something, a little tidbit he throws out in November. Apparently, there's another list of things that are coming out. But do you see these things that they're doing as another check in a box as somebody who will say, I want to leave Canada? Alberta should be a separate country.
Well,
It's just good for us, I guess is the question.
Well, my question to you, John, is that it
Mhm.
seems to me that if they were going to write a checklist of things to do to kick us out, they're doing it day to day to day.
Yeah.
And in actual fact, I actually think about it and say, well, am I missing something here? Like, am I missing something? Because we're trying to understand why anybody would continue to do and say the things that they're continuing to do and say, except that the only thing that makes any sense to us is they absolutely want us out. And I mean, I'm looking around all the time as a CEO of APP and one of the leaders of this movement, and I'm trying to figure out if I'm missing something, and it just doesn't seem like it. It seems like it's actually face value. It's what they're doing is absolutely consciously trying to move Alberta out of Canada, or say accept what we're giving you or offering you because you've got no choice.
Well, I said
And
this.
that's the other thing.
Yeah, I said this morning they're treating us like a child, like a petulant child. You
Yeah.
can't have nice things in Alberta anymore. Here's your place, and it's not to make waves. Are you concerned? Are you concerned that there are dark forces working in the background to bring down the independence movement here in the country, or do you think they're that worried about it?
Do you think the country's that worried about it? I absolutely believe the country is worried about it, and they should
Mhm.
be. Like, honestly, they should be worried about it. I'm not saying that there's not going to be dark forces working against us, because just understand the amount of money that we're talking about here.
Right.
And so if these people, and we're clearly seeing that our federal government is openly taking money from the people of Canada and Alberta. I mean, we can go back 2 or 3 or 4. We don't have to go back very far. We can go back to just when Mr. Trudeau resigned and he had a $400 million missing in that green fund of his, and that's in the open. Now, just contrast that to years ago in Stephen Harper's government when we lost an MP over a $16 glass of orange juice.
Yes, I remember that. Yeah, yeah.
So now Canadians are accepting the fact that our federal government is stealing billions of dollars from us right in the wide open, and we're seeming to be okay with that and accepting it.
What people don't understand is it's been a year. It was about a year ago when that green slush fund thing broke. A government was basically shut down. Nothing happened right up until I think it was December 19th before the Christmas break. Then we didn't have a government after the Christmas break. We haven't had much government at all this year. But that green slush fund, I think it was up to $400 million. We still don't know what happened with that. And people seem fine with this. It's like we've gone from modest $10 billion deficits in this country to accepting that, to accepting $62 billion deficits, to now accepting $100 billion deficits. And it just seems like just is sloughed off by people who don't seem to care what's happening in their country anymore. Meanwhile, Alberta keeps putting money into this. I mean, what else do I say? It's just so frustrating.
And even the liberal economists say that this can't continue.
Yes,
It's
yes.
like we're paying $1 billion a week in interest on this debt. To who, I have no idea, but we're paying $1 billion a week in interest on this debt. Mr. Carney's just spending money as faster than Mr. Trudeau. Mr. Trudeau had 82 ethics violations. Mr. Carney's up to 103 in the first 4 or 5 months of stuff that's going on there
Mhm.
as far as non-disclosure is concerned for his business assets, and so here we are, gone from the frying pan to the fire, basically, with a more dangerous prime minister than the one before. And I was never the guy that thought Mr. Trudeau was a buffoon, based on the fact that I see where he started and where we are as a country today as a
Mhm.
consequences of all the things he's done.
I want to move on here because I want to ask you about the question. We're still waiting to find out if it's constitutional or not. Can you give us an update on that? I know,
Well, we
obviously, you're waiting like everybody. And I talked to Dennis Modry, Dr. Dennis Modry, not long ago. He says he's confident that it will be approved.
well, we're hoping it's going to be approved. We
Mhm.
can't understand how asking a question about the Constitution can be unconstitutional.
Yeah.
But I mean that's their point, and we're seeing even further down the line, even in trial when we were at trial, they never defended their position. Their lawyers never defended their position at all, and even going now further down the line, they're preparing briefs back and forth. They're still not defending their position. So we're trying to understand if they have no position, what we're doing in court. But at any rate, yeah, we're expecting or hoping that they're going to approve that question. But I mean, this is where the dark forces are going to come in.
Yes. Yeah.
This is going to be a very easy step for them to deny the question if they can convince the court that that's in Canada's best interest, which would be in Canada's best interest, but certainly not in Alberta's. And the thing is that they totally also understand that we're capable of calling the referendum the minute that question is approved. So that should be a worry. And the premier herself said, "I'm still Saturday." To us, we're still an independent Alberta within Canada. That's still our position. And I said, well, that may be your position today, but that may change. And
Mhm.
after this week, I mean, who would blame her if she changed her position?
Yeah. I just don't know what the next step is for her. You mentioned the 6 months that she
Yeah.
gave the government. We're past that now. We're into the seventh month now, and we have to
Mhm.
find out what happens because she had a rebuttal to David Eby and that I've never held anything back from other provinces in this country. So why are you holding us back? But I don't think that's gonna play with him. Yeah,
Well,
it's
he's
just
got two Green MLAs that are propping up his government.
mhm.
So if I mean, just understand that he's just not able to. And I mean, that was a very suspicious election result. I mean, that was contested, in the media as being a very suspicious election result, and his majority is being propped up by two basically Green MLAs. So Alberta's in a very poor negotiating position as far as they're concerned, and so is Mr. Eby.
Yeah.
Like they could walk across the floor and or basically trigger another government and that election, and that's probably the last thing they want. But the whole thing is that it doesn't matter. It's just a symptom of the bigger disease. We're going to be fighting this forever if we continue to stay here. What would be the purpose of getting another pipeline? Just further to my conversation with you before,
Mhm.
if they're taking all the money from it anyway.
Yeah. Yeah. Why not
I
keep it
mean,
all?
they're borrowing and borrowing more and more money. Just for example, just let's pay attention to Norway. Norway produces half of our oil, less than half of what we produce in oil. They have a $2 trillion U.S. fund, and we're $1.3 trillion in the hole.
I
And
know.
they produce half as much oil as Canada. You know what? Where's the money?
I did I read that Norway is looking at investing in an LNG plant in Quebec or something. I thought I read something about that. I have to check out on that. But yeah, I mean, yeah.
Well, further from our conversation with Mr. Plamondon, I don't think they're going to do much
No,
with natural gas.
no.
And here's his comment. His comment is, "Why would we do that when all we have to do is build another dam?"
Yeah, they've got hydro out there, that's for sure.
And
Yeah.
they've
Yeah.
got hydro, like the best hydro project, or one of the biggest hydro projects in the world that's going on in Quebec. And but they don't have to use the assets from that so that they can continue to get transfer money from Alberta because they're a have-not province based on the fact that they don't get to add Hydro Quebec to their balance sheet, which
Mhm.
is really interesting. And the other interesting thing is, Mr. Plamondon said that they don't see any of that transfer money, that the federal government uses it as a weapon against the people of Quebec to keep them in Canada. So I found that was a very interesting comment too. So he's saying that they don't need Alberta's transfer money, and I'm sure Alberta's happy not to pay it. So
Mhm.
then, as a consequence to that, I mean, they feel that they're dealing with the same things we're dealing with. They feel they're being oppressed by the federal government. They want to get out from the federal government. Corruption is the biggest thing that they say, and it's exactly the way we feel.
We could talk all day. First of all, I want to thank you. You're on the road. Are you in Grand Prairie tonight? I think I looked on
We're
the, oh, yeah,
we're in Grand Prairie tonight.
yeah.
Yep, I'll be. I've got lunch meetings and meetings all day there
Mhm.
with our people, and then we're going to do an event tonight at 7 o'clock.
I would like everybody to head over to albertaprosperityproject.com. If you haven't gone to one of these events, go to them. People are filling them up. And again, thank you so much to you, to Jeff, to Dr. Dennis Modry, to all the people that put those things together pretty much on a nightly basis. There's at least 4 or 5 of them every week. I do want to mention something to you. I don't know whether you have any additional information on this, but I understand there's an event that could be coming up at the end of October, closer to the end of October. Can you confirm that with me?
I can.
Okay.
Actually, we're going to have a rally on the 25th of October at the legislature. We feel it's time for Alberta to show up.
Yeah.
And the amnesty on guns is coming up at the end of October, and if the federal government doesn't extend it, that's going to create a lot of pain for Albertans. That's the one thing. The other thing is, I think it's time for people in the freedom movement to come and show a little show of strength to give the government some direction based in the way that they're moving forward, and show them that we actually still exist and that they should take what we think into account, and into more account, actually. And so we're going to try and get really, literally tens of thousands of people to the ledge on Saturday afternoon, the 25th of October.
Okay. Do you feel under assault right now, Mitch, from the federal government? I do.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. I really feel, I have the only benefit of being an old person is that I lived through when it wasn't like this.
Yeah.
When I went to high school, it was not at all uncommon for a young couple to get married and actually buy a house.
Yeah.
And
That was
today,
expected.
yeah,
Yeah.
it was expected. And so now that's almost an impossibility. The fact that the federal government is sabotaging industry and consciously sabotaging industry is it should be all we need to say, well, you know what, we don't want to have anything to do with this process because the rest of the world needs what we're selling.
I remember, Mitch, when people could get married and afford groceries, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's insane with grocery prices continuing to go up. Thank you so much. Again, thank you for what you're doing with the Alberta Prosperity Project. We hope people will go to the website, learn more about it. I think the numbers are growing every day. I was reading the article from the National Post, and they're trying to underplay how many people here in Alberta are part of the independence movement. I think it's growing daily, and that's because of the hard work done by people like you. So thanks so much, Mitch Sylvestre, CEO of the Alberta Prosperity Project. Always a pleasure to talk with you. Safe travels out there, okay?
Thanks for having me.
And if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, ring the bell for notifications, and I'll see you in the next one.